Hello, everyone. Welcome to the YouTube channel Sports Talk at Calle Serrano. Today we have a fantastic webinar. I'm very happy of having three great speakers and talking about Formula One and MotoGP business and legal framework. I'm very curious today, and because I have to be honest, I don't know so much about this topic, and that's why I really wanted to organize a webinar on this specific field of sports law that is not usually covered in webinars, seminars, sports law congresses. I think it will be a great opportunity for all our viewers. And I remember to all of you that we are talking live, but this webinar will be uploaded on YouTube and also on Facebook, so you can watch it on demand whenever you want. That being said, I'm starting with the presentation of our speakers. So today we have Luigi Mazzola. Please, Luigi, introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the spectators that are seeing us in this webinar. My experience is Formula One, so I'm an engineer, mechanical engineer, and been working in Formula One for more than 20 years. Had most of the time in Ferrari. I was leading all the development of the car in Ferrari. I was the head of testing when the testing was permitted, and also the development in terms of performance, in terms of reliability of the car. So we're working with, started work with Prost, Alain Prost. That was my first start from fresh engineer to go directly with the professor. It was a tough time, but I enjoy about it. And then I have to say thanks to Alain that he give me all the possibility to grow and then to understand what is really the Formula One car. And then with Michael, a very good friend of Ayrton Senna, and work with Valentino Rossi when we try to work to be in the Formula One. So we did a couple of years training, from zero to go as fast as the Formula One driver. They was very fast, I have to say. Then all the others, Raikkonen, Gerhard Berger, Jean Alesi, Nigel Mansell, then Felipe Massa, Eddie Vine, Rubens Barrichello. So a lot of drivers that I work with. 2009, I just stopped because I wanted to change. And what I've done is try to understand what from these, I would say, competitive and particularly kind of job where speed, evolution, changing, innovation, relationship, being together with excellent people, not only driver but also manager, Ross Brown, Sean Todd, and what really I would say could be really useful for people to grow up, or for companies. So what I did in all my Formula One times, it tried to really to extract some rules, some process, and some I would say topics that could be useful for business companies. And I became executive coach in 2000. So I was in Ferrari. I was still in 2009 that I left in Ferrari. So I was ICF, so American Certification, International Certification of Coach. Then I started to develop and grew up in terms of emotional intelligence, psychological situation, communication, unconscious situation. So in order to get more experience in the intuition and all these things, just putting together, because because I wanted to really to understand all the ingredients that really can make the performance. So all my really life was to understand what performance is, and performance in terms of person, so how a person can be performed, how he can perform, also in terms of companies. So that's now my job. So I'm executive coach, I'm trainer, and emotional speaker. Okay, so what means that the companies call me to do convention, and then I have a lot of message I can really talk about for whatever, for whatever situation that are useful for companies. So teamwork, performance, process, people, relationship, whatever, all this term that are into this kind of ingredient for performance. And now I just become more closer back to the Formula One. So I just create a community where on my site the people get insight, and I wanted to give the possibility to the fun to the people that heat engine, fuel, and bread together. So the very passionate people. All the secrets in terms of car, in terms of technique, in terms of what really they cannot know, because journalists doesn't know, because the people that speak about Formula One doesn't know, because never been inside. So I try really to show what really is Formula One in terms of all these characteristics, also in terms of technique of the car. So this community now I'm doing in Italian, so I start to have really a lot of people. It's starting to be a job, I have to say, not really easy, because I'm creating a video of 1 hour, whatever, every week, that I explain what happened to the race, and then explain also why this car is faster, and what it actually is making faster that car in that situation. And now I would say that when everything is established, everything is okay. I will do also in English, so I will be open also to all English-speaking people around the world, and because I see a lot of people coming and asking, and then being together with me. So this is kind of things that I'm doing now. So that's the
Luigi,
situation.
sorry for interrupt you.
Yeah.
Uh, as far as I'm concerned, you probably need to study some technical regulations. It's a little bit specific for engineers, and it's different from FIA's regulations. I don't know if I'm correct, but you have this kind of things to study and to apply in the,
Okay.
the day by day of the.
I mean, the FIA regulation is a sort of, something that you have to be inside it. When you build the car or when you run the car, this is something that you have to know. And inside of this regulation, there are also the gray area. So the area without definition, a contour that you can be on the limit and try to get as much more performance you can. So this is you need in order to make your car and then also to run your car. Then there is all the technical situation that is going to make faster your car, and then which kind of downforce I need, which kind of drag, so resistance I need, which kind of aero balance I need, what is the interaction between tires, car, and asphalt, what is what are the strategies, and then how to balance the car, so internal balance, external balance, car balance, a lot of things all around, and then it's like is nothing defined, because it's always related to that situation. This is the good things of Formula One. What is working today, and that we can say, okay, in order to make faster car, a faster Formula One car, we have to do this, and then you go to another circuit, other situation, and it's just the opposite. So this situation that is not fixed, but it's just depending from temperatures, from kind of specific track driver, which kind of car you have, and then is morning or is afternoon, which is softer tires or hard tires. So all these things, it's just creating this uncertainty that for the engineer is the best things really to work with. But but also is the difficult part as well. So there is all these technical point of view that fix your I would say game, put in this way. But after that, you have to make it faster. That is the good things.
Nice, very nice.
So this is there's a lot of things coming from this kind of job, because just to give you a rough, if I can say something, I mean, when I was working in Formula One, we're talking about 2000 years, so 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, and also 1992, 93. But from 1996 until 2008, being in Ferrari, we won 14 titles out of 20. So we were pretty competitive, I have to say. Also with Michael, but also with Raikkonen and so on. But what was specific in that time, that in order to win a world championship, or in order to, I would say, compete to win a world championship, you needed to start the first race straight away, fast. Okay, already competitive on the first race. Okay, that normally was Melbourne. Okay, Australia Grand Prix. Then you have to develop your car. You have to develop your car in order to make it faster and faster and faster. And I have to say, by experience, if you make your car at the end of the season, the car of the end of the season, so normally it's Abu Dhabi, faster than the car of the first part of the season, so Melbourne, by 1.5 seconds. I would say that together with the fact that you started already a good level, I would say that you have a good opportunity to win the world championship. In order to increase 1 second during the year, it means that every race you have to put new development on the car, so new parts, new pieces, in order to make your car faster. But the gap between the two races is 2 weeks. So in order to be fast, every 2 weeks you have to bring a new product that is a new car, because basically it's new parts inside, so new carbon parts, new steel parts, new aluminium parts, titanium parts. So you have to think about, you have to draw it, you have to make it, you have to deliver, you have to test, all these things in 2 weeks. And I don't think there are a lot of companies that in 2 weeks can make a new product every 2 weeks. That is the specific kind of company that have been working for more than 20 years. So that means that you have to have a certain mentality of the people, and a certain capacity in terms of procedure, in terms of also, I would say, passion and determination, focusing, in order to really to go there, to achieve your goal, to make a new car, a new product every 2 weeks. In all the department, we're talking about 1,000 people working all together, that they have got only one vision, to make the car faster. That's it. So that is creating such a lot of things that when I stopped with the Formula One, then I went to the business company. I say those companies are really slow like hell. There are really no way to be competitive with a company of Formula One. So I said, okay, there are, I would say, some green base in order to add some things in order to making them faster or more performing. So that's what I'm actually doing. So I give really ingredients in order to understand from people, and then also from assembly of people, put it this way, so team or to companies. So the real company. So some ingredients in order to be more performing, because I guarantee to you, the business is so far behind compared to the Formula One that is unbelievable. I couldn't believe. In the Formula One, you make it points. In a business, you make money. Okay, so first of all, it's different things. But I mean, it's not easy to make points and also to win a world championship. So also because, put it this way, when a company wants to make something better for the next year, when we are in December, more or less, the CEO just to make a convention and says, okay, guys, thank you very much for what we have done this year. all okay, we achieve our target, and now we are able probably to do even more. So it's just giving to you a plus for the following year. And it's plus 5%, 10%, it depends for the market, it depends what's going on. But it's something against yourself. It's 5% better than yourself of the previous year. Of course, in a market that I'm not saying that easy. But if I'm doing exactly the same thinking, a Formula One car in a team, a Formula One team says, finish of the race of the season, Abu Dhabi, we are in November. And then I put all together all my people and I say, guys, we have to improve our car at least by half a second. And then we will be there. Okay, so you develop all your car and then you go to the first race the following year and you see that you are faster half a second. We achieved our target. But that's great. But we are second because there is another one that is faster than you. You are the first of the loser. That is the second position. So you don't want to be the second, the first of the losers, But even if you achieve your target, so it means that you have to give your maximum. Because the problem is that you compete with your competitors in the same place, in the same moment, all together. And you have to be faster and better. So it means that you don't know what the others are going to do in that place, in that moment, or what they have done until that place at that moment. And so it means that you have to give your maximum. So you have to really use all your maximum capacity in terms of people, process, strategies in order to be the first one. So it's a quite complicated situation, but after 20 years, it gives you some situation that for sure I can transport, I can move it also on the business company. That's what I'm doing. So basically, yeah. Put your microphone.
Yeah, it was on mute. Sorry, I was telling you that I have a question for you, and the question is, how do you think that the world of Formula One has changed all over the last years, and how it will change in the future?
Okay, it changed a lot, I have to say. Since, for instance, 2008, they stopped doing testing, and so no allowed anymore to do testing in the season. You just have a couple of tests before the season, and probably one or two tests at the end of the season. So this is the first thing that really changed, and then they introduced more and more and more some frozen parts that you cannot change. Even the gearbox have got the gears that you cannot change. There are all these 8 years or so, whatever, for all the season. So you cannot change. In 1990, I was changing gears in the grid. Because the wind, probably between the warm-up, there was the warm-up in the old days. So Sunday morning was the warm-up. Wherever the wind just changed direction between the warm-up and the race, so you change the 7th gear. You know that because if you are more speed, you will be. You chance to be on the rev limiter, so you have to change. So from that situation now, it's just completely different, and quite more complicated car, more, because of the introduction of the hybrid engine. That is fantastic, I have to say. That is a really something. That makes it unique, the Formula One. This hybrid engine that has got internal combustion engine plus a two electric engine, one dedicated to give more power, and the other one just to recharge the battery. And then you have to really decide if you want to recharge a battery or just to put your energy into the compressor, so the turbo compressor, so to have more power from the internal combustion engine. And that is plus all the situation that politics, I would say, between the teams, now they are more separated. Before they were much more closer and much more speaking together. Now you go to the box and they're all close, all separated, all like unique business unit, not being part of the same, on the same company or the same job. Other things that are change is the direction in order to save money and don't spend too much money. So to restrict development, to use more the older part. That of course is creating some problems because in one direction goes in to save money, so to allow also small team to be part of the game, but it's not really the case. But I mean, should be. And the other part is negative side that who is behind, they will be behind because if you cannot develop or you cannot spend the money in order to make better parts because they are frozen, so you cannot. So that is going to be a problem. Now this year make even worse the situation because teams the financial situation the global financial situation is the way that is forcing to reduce even more money. So spending money. So there is quite a lot of activities in order to review the cost, and they did a new regulation for 2021, and then postpone the regulation 2022. That the biggest change of regulation, in order to save a certain amount of money. So situation is now Formula One that is a very DNA development, okay, kind of job that has to share with missing possibility to develop. So this conflict, of course, is creating conflict with teams, with the spectators, with with at the end. TV that is the final situation that pay money, and I don't know what will be the direction, but of course more virtual together with the reality will be the direction. You have to add a virtuality race. You have to because it was not bad what has been done during the COVID situation, where there were races, also with the real drivers on the virtual races. That was pretty exciting, pretty okay. So, and then if you also introduce the possibility to the people that are based at home that can compete with these guys in a virtuality, you will introduce even more expectation and also interest on the job. So I would say that if you take off somehow what was really the DNA of Formula One to saving costing, and you try to reintroduce in terms of virtuality, that of course nothing to share, but you have to introduce. Probably we can. Probably it can be that something interesting can happen. So I would say that will be the direction to look after. And then it's also in terms of regulation to allow the really to change and to mix the performance of the cars. Because if we go now, we go to take this year. We go to Silverstone now. Next race will be at the end of the beginning, the 2nd of August, if I remember. There will be the Silverstone race. You already know what's going to happen. And then there will be another Silverstone race. You know already what's going to happen. And then you will know also for Barcelona and so on. So what's going on that? So you have to add something that is just creating more confusion or more entertainment. So at the end, if you cannot do it with the real car, because it's difficult to do it with the real car, so I would say that we have to push in order to make it virtuality. And I'm 58 years old. I'm not 19 or 20 or 15 years old. And based on my experience in fuel, engine, sounds, and so on. Okay, so I can say that I'm more, fixed on that all days. But you have to open your mind. You have to have an open mind, and you have to really see what this integration of between virtuality and real can be done and can be useful. This is what I think.
Cool. I have a last question for you, Luigi. and
Yeah.
I'm very curious about it because many times people think that MotoGP and Formula One environments are very similar, but I know that there are many differences. I know that you have been working more in Formula One, but you told me before that you also work with some pilots of MotoGP. So, in your opinion, which are the main differences in between the environment of MotoGP and the environment of Formula One? Uh,
Yeah. I would say that MotoGP is more human,
hmm, oriented.
oriented. Okay, still like the Formula One on the early 90s, okay, or the 80s and 90s. So drivers speak with each other. They stay caravan. If you go there, there are a lot of caravan. They sleep over there. They stay there. They stay together. They eat together. I mean, there is a lot more also between the team. Like Formula One is much more. I would say, like I said before, much more division between the team. You don't. In 1990, in the 90s time, at the end of the qualification, the qualifying session, uh, with all the engineer and race engineer and drivers, we were into the pit lane talking each other. So I would talk with Senna, I would talk with Patrese, I would talk with Butzen, I would talk with Mazzola, I would talk with Gerhard. And with all the other race engineer, Gordon Kimball, Brown, and then all this, and Steve Nichols. Uh, so talking about what happened. So now finish the qualifying, you have a meeting. Then you have another meeting. Then you have another meeting. So there's really a lot of meeting. And when Valentino came to us to talk, I mean, to start to drive with our car, I saw that was, much more enjoyable. It's sort of thing that the driver really is enjoying doing his job. And then if you start to force him in a meeting, and whatever, you lose a bit of. So there are all the fashion situation. Even if there is a lot of professionality also in the MotoGP, I'm not saying that there are not. It's a very, the motorbike is a very nice piece of metal, as I have to say. I mean, nothing against that. But I mean, if you see the telemetry, I mean, just the room of telemetry in a Formula One, I don't know how many computers there are, 20s, and with the 20th engineer over there, plus all the engineer back at home. So you have the remote garage. The remote garage is something that in MotoGP doesn't exist. So it's a lot of more people involved. And then there is the race engineer of MotoGP. He's just doing everything. He's the mechanics. He's much more human being situation. In Formula One is much more specialistic, so everybody's doing his particular job. So it's much bigger for that. But I have to say, I don't know what is more enjoyable. I'm still dreaming. Just to give you a number, in the early 90s, a team of Formula One like Ferrari was 30 people all together. So 30 people. There was also the cook, that was cooking for us the food for the lunch or for the dinner. So 30 people, that's it. Now it's more than 100, it's 120. So, but if you go to the MotoGP, probably there are 30, more or less, there will be that. So it's like the
It's
night
more an
before the
old-fashioned word.
what?
It's more an old-fashioned word.
Exactly, Formula One, old-fashioned world. It's very nice from that. And then also, if the drivers is much more, polite and friendly. If you go to the MotoGP, you can, if somebody just introducing you a driver, and then they can speak with him. It's not a problem. In a Formula One, I mean, no way. You must have a pass. You must have the press communicator guy that they has to pass. I mean, you're talking with a normal Formula One driver. You're not talking with the Pope or I don't know, the president of America. So it's but MotoGP is like much more, easy.
Yeah, probably there is like an excessive professionalization in the Formula One world, like that it's a good thing from from one end, but on the other hand, in this way you can lose all the humanity and like also a little bit of the fun engagement, maybe.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, just giving back to your early question. If you look, I mean, in the very past, we had basically almost sometimes no motorhome at all. Going testing, there was no motorhome. There was a little place, a little space into the garage where was our office. Okay? Like in the Formula E. If you go to the Formula E, there's no motorhome. There you have a special place into the very small one into the garage. Now, look what go to the paddock. Probably not this year, but I mean, look last year. Unbelievable. I mean, there are something like incredible. This is the business, you know. So more business, more business oriented. So sponsor, marketing, communication, commerce side as well. So take part of, and then you have to create all these things. Now, of course, all these things just separate. Is going to separate the people. You go back to the MotoGP. I don't think you see something like in a Formula One. So all this evolution that we had since 80s years, 90s years until now, is going to the direction where, because of money was present, so we had the money in order to do all these things. It went in a completely different situation. Now, money are missing, so we have to come back. But there is this kind of things that the good teams, put in this way, good in terms of money. So the constructors don't want to change because this is what they like, and then the poor, put in this way, the second type of teams that they cannot afford. So, but you cannot do a Formula One race with 6 cars or 10 cars. You have to do at least with 20 cars. So you have to give the possibility also to the small team to be competitive, and then with less money. So this is the situation that is creating. So probably it could be that also the company's car, it could leave. I don't know, but it could be the situation. I mean, if you look in the past, there were basically people that they were assembling parts. Now there are companies' cars, they are making parts and then assembling. But if you need to reduce the amount of money, reduce the amount of people, reduce all these situations because of the financial situation, of course, so we go direction of assembling people, companies. So, but in the same times, depends on which kind of direction they want to pick it up. Virtuality has to be there. So for me, it's something that has to be together. They have to find a way out to glue together the real and the virtuality.
And I'm sure that Andre later will will illustrate how it could be possible now and especially in the future. Thank you very much, Luigi.
You're welcome.
Very interesting to listen to you. Now it's time to give the floor to Magdalena. She will talk more in details about the legal framework of Formula One and also some insight about MotoGP. Magdalena?
Thank you so much, Lucio. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for everything. And regarding to link with the matters from Luigi, totally agree, because, for example, the difference between Formula One and the other, the rest of the esports, for example, is that the racing driver compete with his own teammate, right? And then we have to take into account the circumstances of the weather and the circuit, because, for example, it's not the same the circuit from Monaco, Baku, or Singapore, for example. So these circumstances are very important also. And then that scenario and MotoGP and Formula One, especially Formula One, the scenario from Monaco is a place to be after Festival de Cannes. So you can see the models, Gigi Hadid and everything. And for example, that scenario from Abu Dhabi is very different from Monaco because it's a place where the big deals are signed. So yes, just to link a little bit with the conversation from Luigi.
Great, great, great. And what about FAA? What about like the Federation of Motorsports? What is like
Yes.
the legal framework?
Yes, in this case, Lucho, with Formula One, we have the International Sporting Authority, the FIA, who is entitled to make and enforce the regulation regarding the principles of safety. And then we have official documents when, for example, one driver has to register to if he want to wish to take part in the qualify. And then also, for example, is different from football. For example, here we don't have the training compensation or solidarity mechanism. And in not many cases, these cases are take appeal in front of the TAS because usually it's the same FIA entitled and have to bring the prior approval to send the international court and waiting what happens with the bill.
Okay, okay, okay. And what about the relationship, like the commercial and also the legal relationship between the pilots and the brands like Ferrari, Mercedes, and all of that? Which kind of contracts are signed between the two parts?
Yes, in this case, Lucho, as everybody knows, Formula One is very expensive. So, for example, the performance of the investors is very important, right? Because, for example, the role of Lawrence Stroll, who has invested, the Canadian billionaire, he invests in the Scuderia, but he won the seat of his son. So, in these cases, the brands are very important, and yes, the typical.
It's not a labor relationship, right? It's something like a partnership between the player and the driver and the company. So
Yes.
I think, as far as I'm concerned, but the driver has his own sponsors, and also the company has their sponsors, and they need to link both interests to make a contract in order to provide the best relationship for both parties. If I'm not wrong.
Yes,
Is it correct?
it's correct, Andre. Yes.
Point for Andres.
And so it's, we can say that it's a little bit similar to the relation with between the football teams of MLS and the MLS, like that there are some partnership between the football teams and the MLS, and in the same at the same time there is like this kind of relationship between the Scuderias and the FIA.
Right.
Okay, 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 okay. And so, according to your experience, which are the most, let's say, the most common controversials between the pilots and the federation on the pilots and I don't know, the circuits and the pilots and the sponsors? Tell us a little bit more about the legal aspects.
Yes, Lucho. Sorry, the problem became, for example, this is similar to football, right? Because always the Scuderia want to be the best in the racing points. So also the Scuderia want to catch the best racing driver. And for example, something happens, for example, with the case of Daniel Ricciardo, when he transferred to Renault, and in theory, Aston Martin didn't know, in theory. Then it's very fashionable, as you told, but it's true that it's more difficult when you have a conflict, because it's true that you can appeal before international court, but just in some cases. So the penalties, you just can take the penalties in just cases. For example, regarding the safe, you cannot. So, but it's little strange, right? Because if you crash in the 3 lap and the problem is not yours, it's from the engineer, so why? And you lose the race. So the framework is not so extensive like the other sports. That's why it's a little bit difficult. And also the racing driver, we just have 20 racing drivers. So yes, this is a little bit different regarding the other sports.
Okay. But for example, you mentioned the transfer of Ricciardo, no? And so we all know that in football you can sign a contract with a football player, or if he's a free agent, or paying a fee, the transfer fee to his previous club. In the case of Formula One, what does it happen? I mean, I am the Ferrari and I want to sign a contract with, I don't know, a random pilot of another Scuderia, Hamilton. How can I do it? I mean, I have to ask the permission. I only have to wait that his contract ends with McLaren, for example, or
No.
I can sign him.
No, because for example, Lucho, the case of Carlos Sainz, right? That who is the next racing driver from Ferrari?
Yeah.
And the question were between Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz, and finally was Carlos Sainz. So no, it's different from football. You don't have to wait. You have to receive the proposal, and also you are advised by your manager, that in this case is his cousin. So once you've said this proposal, you sign, and it's official that you can change the Scuderia. What happens with Formula One, I don't know if Luigi agree, that in this case is the contract of the racing drivers. Usually they don't tell in official manner. I mean, you never know. It's complicated. Maybe after one race, for example, from Baku, so one Scuderia decided that his racing driver is very good, so they want to catch, but you never know when will be the moment to sign for his for this racing driver.
Yes.
You are agree, Luigi?
Yeah.
So it's like a secret. It's like a secret in this carousel, as Toto Wolff said. Yes, so the information is not very open, Lucio. Yes, but they don't have to wait. They can sign. It's enough to receive the proposal. It's enough to receive the proposal, have the enough investor, and you can sign. Okay.
And there is like a maximum
and
of
the duration.
duration.
Sorry, Lucio, the duration is different. Also, for example, we don't have a specific rule. Have to be just 1 year or 2 years. No. So actually, we can see that, for example, Charles Leclerc and also Max Verstappen, they have signed the duration of the contract is 3 or 4 years. Of course, as younger they are, the Scuderia take a profit and sign the long contract to take a profit and to promote the racing driver.
Especially if it's a good team.
Yes, it's a good team, yes.
In Williams, at the moment, you don't make a 4 years contract.
No, in Williams, difficult.
1 year, 1 year contract usually, like the lower profile Scuderia.
1 year.
1 year. And also, I really don't know much about Formula One. So another curiosity is, I always see that, for example, Ferrari had only 2 pilots. Maybe in some season 3, but there is a limit of pilots that a brand can have, or not?
No, right, Luigi, not the limit, but Luigi, you have to take into account that the investment is so huge. So to promote the racing driver and everything with the team and keep doing, and also, as Luigi said, manage the emotion, because, for example, with the Switzerland racing driver, for example, he was very good, but when he's in the car, he loses his mind, and in every circuit he crashed. So what happens? So it's not the investors also manage the motion, everything. So that's why there is no limit, but usually it's 2 or 3 as much. No, Luigi?
No, it depends. It depends. You
It
can have, I guess,
depends.
when it was the testing allowed, you have also 4 drivers. But you have a 2 specific racing driver, 1 third driver that he could be a testing driver, still called testing driver. I don't know what he's going to test, probably the simulator. But he is a sort of, the cert behind. So if one
Like
of the
the
2,
third goalkeeper in football.
exactly. I mean, it's one of the 2 just get crashed and then get some problems and hurt, and then you have to substitute him with someone. But you can have also 4. It depends. I mean, you can have an academy where you have got also more drivers, and then you put the drivers all over the other teams. But they are still under your contract. They are still under your I would say, brand. And Red Bull can use the Toro Rosso, the Alfa Tauri. McLaren can use Williams, so on. Ferrari can use us or better Alfa Romeo. So it around the team can be that there are more drivers, younger, and 2 really one that with experience, and then they are the official driver. But you can have more than 1, no problem. I mean, it depends. I mean, also from the sponsor of the 3rd one or the 4th.
Yes, of the money, of course.
If they want to pay just to see his driver being in Ferrari or being in a Mercedes, why not? A team is just taking money. I would say, no problem at all.
Cool. I have some other questions. Like, one question is, what happens if a pilot gets injured? I mean, for example, in football, we have some transfer windows. In Formula One, if in the middle of the season, a pilot gets injured, let's say a low-profile team which doesn't have a third pilot can sign another pilot, or for example, is this team allowed to do that?
Oh yes.
Yes.
He cannot. I mean, he cannot stop racing. Huh? You have to present your
because
car.
The purpose is win the race. Yes.
Okay.
So you have to have 2 cars into the grid. You cannot not have. So there will be a sort of agreement between the driver that is injured and the driver that is coming in. So it's a sort of a team deal, to cover that. Of course, with the manager. But you have a situation where the driver retires and probably doesn't spend any more money, but somebody else is coming. If somebody else is not coming, then they have to, deal that the driver is still paying the money, even if he's injured. So it depends. There is all contracts all made before. It's all clear, that it's all written into the contract.
Yeah. And there is a minimum of pilots that a brand has to put in the race. For example,
2
two.
cars. No, 2 cars.
2
and
cars.
then they are the nominated drivers. They can change the driver, during the season. It's not a problem. Red Bull did it with the Kiat and Verstappen.
Mm-hmm.
So they can change it.
So
I mean, it's not a problem for that.
Okay. And before Magdalena mentioned the cousin of Ricciardo, right? And my question is, like, in football, my my benchmark is always football because I mainly deal with football matters. So we have the figure of the intermediary or of the agent. In Formula One and MotoGP, there are some specific agents or intermediaries, or
No.
how the transfer are made, are the negotiation go on.
No, I mean, they have their own agent or legal advisor, whatever you want. But here, Lucho, there is no a specific regulation about intermediaries, agents like in football. Then sometimes is a big debate.
Okay.
No, the impact is not so huge. No.
Okay. So there is no regulation like the regulation on the intermediaries, like in football. It's more like a legal advisor figure.
Yes, don't necessary to be a lawyer, of course. The most important is give the best and the right advice. But yes, it's different from the football.
Okay, nice, good. And then another important question to Magdalena, also to Luigi, according to his experience. I mean, in what happens in considering that you risk your life in the races? What happens if a pilot causes a serious injury to another pilot? I mean, I think there is like a sports law part, and in this case, which is the judicial body which has the competence to judge. And I think there is also like a civil side of law. And in that case, I guess like the competence is on the like it's a territorial competence on the country where the race is taking place.
Yes, you have to first notify to the national sporting authority, and once you notify about the penalty, you have to submit the bill to the national court or international court of appeal. And you can first always the step is first national and then international.
Okay.
But it's as you consider, you can go directly to the International Court of Appeal, submit the appeal, Lucho, and then wait what happens. Meanwhile, this appeal is submitted to the International Court of Appeal. You cannot go to the ceremony, official ceremony, neither the podium. You have to wait until receive the result. It's a kind of a standby, right, Luigi? You have to wait until you receive.
I don't know the details in this case.
Yes.
I never been in that situation, so I don't.
Yes, you have to submit and wait for the answer. In this case, when the situation is a crash or civil action and penal action. Yes.
Okay. Andre, do you have some other question?
No, I'm okay with that. Very nice, very nice.
Yeah. A lot of curiosity. I had a lot of curiosity.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot today.
Because even at this day, I think we only had one class about motorsports with Roberto Alvarez, but exactly. I mean there are a lot of topics to be discussed. So sure. Thank you very much, Magdalena. Thank you very much for your time and for your intervention. You were very, very clear, and also to Luigi for his help. And so, Andre, let's talk a little bit about eSports. I think we should start with the implication between eSports and motorsports, and then I think you can also give us an overview on the eSports development in Brazil.
Okay, Dan. Firstly, thanks for the invitation. I think I'm learning a lot, and after Luigi and Magdalena speaking, it's a little bit difficult to say something, but I will try to explain a little bit how it works, the esports worldwide, and then make the link with Formula One and how this market is growing inside the esports. So basically, we have a very recognized market that everybody knows that esports is a phenomenon that is growing fast day by day. So everybody's trying to know a little bit more, and everybody knows that the games are developed by a publisher that uh, make their own regulations about the license of the game, and in sometimes how the competition is going to work uh, in their umbrella. So sometimes they organize their own competitions, accepting clubs and making rules for the athletes, a kind of ethical and specific regulations about the game. So mainly have a time limit. You organize a competition with the help of a producer, and you have this whole ecosystem for the fans that want to watch all this environment. And it's important to say that each game has their own environment. So a guy who is going to play League of Legends, probably he's going to be hired for a club, and then a team is going to be they will have their own fans, and they are going to participate in competitions that it's very specific for this competition of the publisher. So this market is growing day by day. Everybody knows that. In Brazil, we can say that we are the third biggest market of the world. We are just behind China and US. So we have a lot of
even more than South Korea.
Even more than South Korea because of the number of the population that they have there. maybe because of that. But they are more fanatic than us. I think from a Brazilian perspective, we love more football than esports nowadays. But we don't know in some years what it's going to be, right? And I've been working with a lot of clubs, athletes, and some publishers here in Brazil. We are developing some leagues in a lot of games that we are having each more during this time. And one thing that came to me last year when I went to the eSports Bar Miami was the speech of Rubens Barrichello, that it's a Brazilian driver. He's not driving anymore, but he used to be a very nice driver for us. And then he told in his speech that the next challenge for Formula One is to integrate the virtual competitions inside this market. Why I'm telling this? I think Luigi told a little bit about this thing, but Formula One, it's a very specific exclusivity and charming market. No, that I'm unmuted.
No.
Okay. That the people need to be included. So how to do that? And during this period of pandemic, we saw a competition created by some drivers. If I'm not wrong, I think Max Verstappen and Norris was included, and
Not Verstappen.
not Verstappen.
Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc.
Leclerc, yes.
I remember
Leclerc,
Leclerc.
Not
Maybe
yeah,
there's something another competition. I don't know because I saw an article here in
probably.
Brazil. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be another competition, but uh, we are seeing much more competition in this market, and for not only because of the inclusion, but because the machine and the simulators are very real in when you are driving in this machine, for example. So you can feel when you are doing a race, your movement, you can feel your body inside the car in a real perspective. So you need to know how to control the fuel during the race and all the real worries for the drivers are being applied inside these games. So I think that is going to increase a lot this kind of games. The publisher that is developing Formula One game is the Codemaster, and they are trying to get inside and make more competitions for include drivers that can't access this market, just considering that it's a exclusivity market and very expensive to get inside. So you really need to be very, very good to be inside this market. So I think it's very interesting. We have a lot of other games that we can say that is more developed than Formula One nowadays. But I'm seeing that we have a very nice market to explore, and maybe I don't know via a League of Legends around the world or a Counter Strike that has a importance very specific in this esports market.
May I add something? Try to imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. Formula One during the COVID lockdown, they started to do something. Okay, so Liberty started. So the owner of Formula One is organize eSports. They have their own companies, okay? And they did some races, okay, and with some rules. But try to imagine a situation where, like in America, they have several team. They have teams, okay, and the team is a driver, an engineer. That the engineer can be close to the driver, but can be also like a country different, so 1,000 kilometer difference. And so they have a sort of a team that is located around the world, and they do the race. And this is what they do in NASCAR, I believe, and so in America. Um, Rubens is doing quite a lot of activities in terms of virtual racing together with his sons. So I see him and then I talk with him about it. And I've tried to imagine a situation where you have several teams that then everybody can have a team somehow. And you start to put together these people and then can compete with the race driver. Okay, so race driver. Now, okay, if you take the oldest one, like it could be Sebastian Vettel, okay, so or driver that has some years already, and probably they are not that in. But if you take all the young guy, Russell, Norris, Leclerc, all these guys, they've been working with the virtual racing, and they don't need you don't need a simulator, a big simulator that is simulating somehow, but there's no way that a simulator is simulating the reality because it's far off. But it can give you some little situation. But the official driver don't like it that. They just have a seat, solid seat with a steering wheel, with a 3 TV screen, and they go. There is no a bit of effort in the steering wheel. So something that really with the little amount of money everybody can have. And And then if you start to create a sort of virtuality where there are teams or people, I mean, normal people can compete with the really race driver, you can imagine what you can do. And I mean, it's just completely different story, you know. I mean, it's that's what they have to be open, okay. And we go towards to the youngest, and then the youngest they are pretty smart on that. So the connectivity, you don't need really whatever connectivity in internet, but most of the country they have a good one. So I would say that they have to push on that in order to really match the real with the virtual, and then you can do whatever. You can have a sort of shadow car. I mean, you can have a situation where all the 20 drivers are doing the race, a virtual race, and then they have tones, of other people, but they are in shadow. Okay, so they are doing the race, and they are in shadow competing with the others. And why not? So you can have all the work connected to the virtual race, so Formula One or whatever other competition you can have. And this is pretty, I would say pretty easy to make it and then to go. I mean, you don't have a million cars around the track. You have 20 cars around the track, and all the others in shadow. So everybody can. I mean, I'm dueling with Hamilton. I'm dueling with the winner. So I mean, it would be really, and then they go to see the race in TV, or they go to the circuit. I mean, to see their. So you start to create somehow in another way what is important for the sports. So it's the human being. If there are heroes, and that a young guys can looking for, and then have a sort of reference, this sport will be great and will be followed by a lot of people. If you separate from there, you have a sort of elite people around there, but with nothing. So it just start this process in order to make it more. I'm not saying that they have to kill the real cars. I'm not saying that, because you need.
Sure.
But the virtual can actually make the real even better in terms of money, in terms of audience, in terms of expectation, in terms of sponsoring. And so you can sponsor even the virtual, so you can do whatever you want if you go in that direction.
That's very nice that you showed up with that, because I've been seeing a movement very similar with football
Hmm.
in some games like FIFA and PES, that is Pro Evolution Soccer. Of course, it's not a steering wheel and a chair that you can
Sure.
manage and simulate that you are driving a car, but you have 11 players against 11 players, each one in your position. So you have to take the skills of your position to pass the ball for another in a collective game.
Yeah.
So you have the challenges inside this kind of game. And I'm seeing a lot of competitions being created, even by FIFA. Uh, I don't know exactly how they are doing this in terms of regulations, but they are creating some competition in this market, and also some national federations are doing this with this kind of games. So I think it's a huge market to explore, not only in FIFA and PES, but in Formula One also. And let's see what it's going to be, because we need real guys and people that understand the real market uh, to make their inputs and help the virtual market to develop and maybe be the best game in the future years.
I totally agree with both of you. because I think that Formula One, also MotoGP, but maybe more Formula One, has to work a lot in order to improve its fan engagement. Because maybe it's only like my impression, as I am Italian and now Ferrari is not like in the 90s, and so. But I feel I have the sensation, the feeling that like the new generation are losing interest for motorsports in general, and especially for Formula One. Maybe because I don't know, the races are a little bit more boring than in the past. I don't know which is the reason, but I think that in order to attract young generation, young people, teenagers, which main hobby is playing virtual games, video games. We all know that. I think that like there should be like a great work in order to promote and publicize the esports, and like to promote the link between esports and Formula One, esports and MotoGP. I don't know, maybe organizing some tournaments, some races, and the one who wins that game can play against the real pilots. Like, I mean, not only virtually, but maybe in the same stadium, something like that. Because I mean, uh, we know that in general esports are growing a lot, and also football is developing, and is like in some way using the esports link. But I think that motorsports need even more than football, all of that. Do you agree with this analysis?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
uh,
absolutely.
And then now we have a question, and I think that it's more direct to Andre. How is the competition between video games to attract more players? So I guess she refers to, I don't know, for example, different publisher which release racing games.
Yeah, the I think the big challenge here is how to uh, have the attention of the fans in each game, or that will develop and will make a competition. So one of the things that is being very present in this market is the broadcasting by streaming channels. So they are very popular in the esports market, and they are very easy to put in a cell phone, in a mobile. That it's something that everybody has nowadays. So it's something that it's easy to access, to watch, and even interact between the fans that are watching this kind of game. So when you are talking about the competition, you need to have these fans. You need to have fans that is supportive to the teams, and this generates a community that is very engaged with the video game in question. So probably this is one point that I should put here, because it's they are doing very well with this kind of broadcasting.
Okay, cool. So we are coming to the end of our conversation, and it was a great pleasure for me to moderate this panel. I've learned really a lot. It was for me one of the most interesting webinars we organized since March, when it all began. So thank you very much for your participation, for sharing your knowledge with me and with all of our viewers. And you can follow the recording of the webinar on YouTube, and if you want, I can also send you to all of you privately. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All the best to everyone.
Ciao.
Ciao ciao.
Ciao a tutti. Ciao a tutti. To everybody. Good.